there, this is Rachel, and I just wanted to record my response post to Module 4. So I enjoyed hearing everyone's responses and different perspectives on the readings. Tamara, I'll start with you. I thought it was something that interesting that you talked about in your video was this idea about being gender neutral from birth. I agree that we should move towards that, and I think it's interesting. It just makes me think about when couples decide not to find out the gender early on, and I think like initially my thought is always like, well, why? Like, why wouldn't you find out? You know, you have to know, like, but why do we want to find out? It's because we want to buy like all this pink stuff or all this blue stuff, or we want to paint the room and get comforters, and so I just think it's interesting, all that pre-planning that goes into it, and why do we really want to know the gender of the baby before it's actually here. And I wonder if those people that do wait, I would be curious to know kind of their style as far as like what kind of environment they raise their children in, and how understanding they are or open to just different situations that their child may be in. And anyway, it just made me think of that. I just thought it would maybe be interesting. Brandy, something that you mentioned that I could kind of relate to, how you were saying that you weren't really exposed to the LGBTQIA community in high school. I was not either, and so I think it's kind of interesting to think about that, you know, kind of being that first real exposure in college. But something I also think about is how coming out and like support for the gay community is so big in high school now. I mean, I feel like it's, you know, kids are feeling more comfortable at a younger age and are feeling more supported, and so it's just really interesting to kind of see how many high schools are forming like gay straight alliances and all these things. So I think it's interesting. I mean, even in the time, you know, less than, well, I'm not sure for you, but for me, like less than 10 years, you know, that I've been out of high school, and it's changed so much. So I think that's good, and it was just an interesting thought that I had. Mark, I liked that you kind of talked about, kind of similar to what I talked about in my video, but kind of putting on the mask, and you related it to the athletes and trying to fit in and conform and those societal expectations. And I believe that it's probably even, like you said, probably even more common in a situation where you're a group, or you're maybe being watched more, or more is expected out of you because of a certain role that you play, more so, you know, I'm a male and I'm an athlete, so now what does that mean for what society expects of me and how I should act and what I should do. So I thought that was interesting that you related it to the athletes, and probably that struggle. I have 2 female mentees, so I haven't been able kind of to have a conversation with them about that, but I think even they, as females, I think probably run into some similar situations as far as being a student athlete and a female, and etc. So, and then Tina, I liked how you talked about the queer theory, about how you mentioned the part of the theory where because I behave like this, then I am this, as opposed to the other way around, which I think is how society commonly looks at it. But I think it's just important to consider the behavior as opposed to just automatically identifying someone. So, I mean, you may, and it's probably society's fault that we assume that if someone, you know, looks a certain way or acts a certain way, that they are a certain way. But I just think that it was interesting to just be identified that way, or to kind of be explained that way. Like you said, challenges a lot of, I think, the societal norms, and so I appreciated you bringing that up and talking about your experience with that theory. So again, really appreciate all of your thoughts, and looking forward to the next module.